Hi everyone, so today is my 3-year anniversary of my fitness journey. I know I've only been talking about it for the past few months and a few posts this past year, but I figured I'd finally answer everyone's questions and tell you about my little journey. So when I was younger, I used to be super skinny, and then my body changed and I was diagnosed with thyroid disease and PCOS, and the weight just kept coming on, and no matter what I did, nothing would work. I gained a lot of weight and I didn't know what to do about it because the diets weren't working and neither was exercising. And so I just kind of escaped into my movies and my books and kind of let myself go. I was busy being a caregiver most of my life, so I didn't have time to focus on me or try to figure out my body. And then in 2018, I became an EMT, so a medic on an ambulance. Then in December of 2018, I was injured lifting a patient and went to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh, we don't see anything broken from our x-ray. It's just muscles, take 2 weeks off, go back to work." Less than a week later, I lost all feelings in my right side. And I ended up back at the doctor and they put me on medical leave. My back injury was super bad. I was having trouble getting up from the bed. I was having trouble walking. I was having trouble doing simple tasks. So I did 14 weeks of physical therapy. I learned how to do everything modified. And after 14 weeks, the spine doctor said, "There's nothing else we can do. You are permanently disabled." That was hard to hear as someone who was just 30 years old. And I kept doing the modified stuff. I lost my job as a medic. I was also told in my evaluation I would never lift more than 20 pounds without having spasms and, again, falling. And it was a rough time. During that time, I also started gaining even more weight because I wasn't active. I couldn't walk. I got a job at the University of Alabama because my dad moved, and I had good insurance, and I found a better doctor. And the doctor looked at me and he said, "You have 2 herniated discs." So 2020, a week before the lockdown, I had surgery on my spine to fix the 2 herniated discs. And when I came out, I was still on anesthesia, and I looked at my dad and I said, "I can feel my fingers." And he's like, "It's just the drugs." And the nurse told him, he said, "No, that is how numb her arm was. She couldn't feel her fingers, and now she can." I got the feeling back in my right arm after that surgery. I thought things would get better after that surgery, but the pain in my back was still there. I was still having muscle spasms. I was still falling. It was kind of heartbreaking to me. I tried not to show it, but I thought that surgery would fix everything and I could go back to being normal. About 2022, 2023, in between there, the pain had gotten so much and the spasms happening so often that my falls were getting dangerous because I would have a spasm and then I would black out. And I went back to my spine doctor and I told him, I said, "This is what's happening. The spasms are getting worse. They're happening more frequent, and now I'm falling." And at that point, I had a gash on my head from I fell and I hit the bed frame. So I went to him and I told him that, and he's like, "This is sounding like it's become neurological." And he's like, "Now you need to go see a neurologist." And I was like, "Okay." And as I was leaving, I turned and I had a spasm at that time and I blacked out. And luckily, from what I was told, the doctor caught me. And he looked at me and he said, "Ignore everything I just told you earlier." He said, "This is not neurological." He said, "Watching that spasm and what happened. He's like, it is 100% pain. And he's like, I didn't realize your pain was that much. He said, when you have a spasm, he said, you stop breathing and you pass out from lack of oxygen. And I was like, yay, not neurological. And finally, someone sees that I wasn't faking it, because a lot of the doctors treated me like I was faking the back pain. And all I wanted them to do was fix it. So they're like, the pain's not going to get better. And the doctor told me, you need to have a walker. And at that point I was like, I'm in my 30s. I don't want a walker. So sometimes I would use crutches, but then everyone would always be like, why are you on crutches? What happened? What did you do? What's going on? And I got tired of the questions, and I was like, you know what? I would rather just fall and get injured than deal with all the questions and why are you on a walker? Why are you on crutches? Why are you using a cane? Or all the looks that people would give you. So I was like, I'm not going to use a walker. I was tired of my fight. So in 2023, I said, you know what? I've always wanted to travel. I haven't been able to. So I went on a trip to Paris. I was in a very dark time. And in Paris, I had an awesome roommate, and I met some amazing girls. Sorry, I told myself I wasn't going to cry. And while I was there, I got to talking to one of them about the fact that I hated how much weight I had gained, and I hated how I looked. I hated that I couldn't move without severe pain and all of the falling. I hid how much I actually fell from everyone. In Paris, while I was walking by myself, I fell down a flight of stairs and got pretty banged up. But again, as always, I hid the fact that I was injured. I hid the fact that I was in that much pain. And I went back to my room and I got cleaned up, and luckily it was cold in Paris, so it was always jackets and long sleeves, so you couldn't see the marks from the fall. And one of the girls on the trip, later on, we were talking about fitness, and I was like, I'm in so much pain that I can't get on a treadmill. I was like, within 15-20 minutes I'm falling. And she talked about one of her injuries and that she worked through the pain. She didn't listen to the doctors when the doctors pretty much told her what they told me, and that was to give up, that there was nothing to do, that I would just have to survive. Her and I talked about it, and she's like, what do you do on the treadmill? And I was like, I put on music and I think about how much pain I'm in. And she's like, you need a distraction. She's like, music won't help you. She said, I watch other people working out. I watch people who distract me. And I was like, never thought of that. She's like, I have the perfect person for you. And she pulled up a profile. I was like watching someone else work out. That would distract me. It won't hurt to try. So I added Hani's profile. When I got back to Orlando, I went to the gym at my apartment complex, and within 10 minutes, I fell. And I remember what she said, and I turned on one of the videos. I ended up doing 15 minutes in the gym. And the next day, I was in so much pain, I could barely move. And I kept at it. I kept watching his profile. One of my friends said, oh, he does a live, but it's on a site that, a social network that you don't have and you shouldn't get. She's like, I'll record it and I'll send it to you. So my friend sent me 3 different exercise videos of Hani's. I would watch those, and it took almost a year for me to do twice a week. because the other days I was just trying to recover from the pain during those 2 days. And I had gotten up to 20 minutes on a treadmill without falling. And that was an accomplishment, but it wasn't an accomplishment that I could tell, because then people would know how much pain I was in, and I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want my family to worry. I didn't want to become a burden. So in 2024, I was able to walk a little bit more. I had lost about 5 pounds, not much in a year, but it was something. And 2024, I finally made it up to 30 minutes on a treadmill. Again, slow and steady, watching Hani work out, and then I added a Thai actor, Force, because he would do running on the treadmill. And watching those, I didn't feel so alone. And I stayed in the gym. I tried my best. I ended up having a health coach. My health coach would talk to me every 2 weeks, and we would talk about the pain. We would talk about the falling. 2024, I ended up losing about 15 pounds. And I was so excited. And after that time in 2023 with Paris, I realized the US wasn't for me. I needed something a bit slower. I needed something that was just calmer. And I decided I was going to teach abroad. I got a job offer in Korea. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Came to Korea. It is such a different culture, but it fits me perfectly. Like it's much calmer and not as rushed and not as crazy as I felt when I was in the US with just trying to like do everything, and everything was at a fast pace, which was very difficult for me with my back. And it's kind of funny because walking to work now, I walk 20 minutes one way to work, and I was like, originally I couldn't even do that, and now that I'm here, I'm able to do that. My doctors here helped me get my thyroid under control, and I finally started seeing weight loss. And those 3 videos that my friend had edited of Hani's that I had been watching for 2 years, they got ruined. I was like, that's what kept me in the gym. What am I gonna do? And as I was trying to figure out things and try to grab different videos from his Instagram, I was like, I still need to keep on doing the gym. I need to keep that 30 minutes at least. So I tried to do the best I could, and it was very hard to stay on the treadmill without watching one of those movies. And then one of my friends told me, you went to the wrong club. They're like, this is the club you need to go to. And I was like, that's Hani. And I added him on TikTok. I finally made a TikTok and found out that was where she had found those videos. Because I've been able to get everything else under control, instead of 2 or 3 times a week, I am now in the gym for 4, sometimes 5 times a week. In February, I started weight training, and there's a personal trainer that meets with me twice a month and showed me some machines. I learned some machines by watching Hani's gym lives, and finally started losing the weight. So in 2025, right before December, I weighed myself, and I had lost almost 80 pounds. And most of that was from once I moved here in May. Losing that kind of weight and seeing it coming off, being healthier and just being able to survive more has been amazing. And I'm doing weekly weigh-ins, I'm doing the exercising, I added in the weights, and the last time I fell was December. So I am able to move better. I very rarely have a spasm in my back. So 3 years working through the pain, finding that inspiration and that motivation through Hani to stay on the treadmill. And now I'm able to do the weights, and I feel better. I am not in as much pain. I used to take 3 painkillers and 3 muscle relaxers just to get through the day. And now I am off my pain meds completely. And at most I take 1 muscle relaxer, and that's usually on the days where I'm weight training. It has been a long journey, and the journey is definitely not done, but I am to a better place. I have gone from being almost 300 pounds to 200, and I still have a ways to go to my goal weight, but I'm finally getting there. Been amazing. I've been doing stuff that I never thought I could do. I've been able to hang out with my kids, play with my kids at school, instead of just, how do I get out of this chair? Or, oh, if I play with them, I might turn the wrong way and I might have a spasm and I might collapse. I don't have to worry about that anymore. 3 years. Happy anniversary. I can't wait to see what the next 3 do. Thank you, all of you, for following me so far on this journey. I know I've only been vocal for about 6 months of it. I have loved all the messages you guys have sent me. There are days where I don't see the weight loss, and I had to remind myself, this is where you came from. This is where you are now. You can see the weight loss in the photos, and I have to remind myself of that. But my clothes are telling me, and my scale is telling me, and you guys are telling me, and that has helped so much. So thank you for all you guys have done. Thank you for the supportive messages that you guys have given me over the past several months. I look forward to what the rest of the time has, and the rest of the journey that is still yet to come. Thank you.
Fighting, everyone. Fighting. I love you. I love you. I love you. Have a great day and have a great night, everyone. 안녕. Bye bye.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I